funny that Shap said that because there was a fundraiser a couple of years ago at the home of Gay Symington, and she introduced me exactly the same way. But there's a reason for that. I've been doing this work as a policy analyst for about 24 years, 5 years in the auditor's office under contract. And you know, the facts matter to me. And the auditor's office must produce evidence-based findings, and that's what I've been doing all this time. The facts have to speak for themselves. And also, as far as Shap and Gay are concerned, I have a talent for identifying and asking difficult questions. And it's not unusual, or you can imagine why people in power don't want often to hear those questions, particularly from someone who might be able to give them answers that they don't want to hear. But that's what I do. It's fun. And I also enjoy challenging conventional wisdom. If we don't do that, we're not going to get ahead. You know, that's one of the things that I think both Phil Hoffer and Bernie did, to their credit, in this state. And that is to expand the discourse. If you get to ask new questions or old questions in different ways, that's how we go forward. Not by saying to ourselves, well, we've done the best we can, let's move on to something else. No, there's always more. And we have to ask ourselves, how can we improve everything we do? You know, this race is bizarre. It's not the one I anticipated. I thought I'd have another shot at Tom Salmon, which I thought would have been fun. You know, I've worked with Vince in his committee quite a bit because they deal with issues that are of interest to me, often without a plan, economic development and related to tax policy. And Vince is a smart guy, but I really don't think his skill set is ideally suited to this job. And I think my skill set and experience are indeed ideally suited to this job. And it's the only job of interest to me, I might add. I'm not looking to use this as a stepping stone to something else. Because I like the idea of being independent, to be very honest. And while working with the governor and the administration are important, and the legislature, the auditor does need to be independent. And Vince has been in the institution a long time, to his credit, but I don't think he can be objective, to be very honest, about a lot of the work that the auditor has to do. And you know, you'll see in his advertising and when he speaks publicly that he characterizes himself as somebody who bridges divides and brings people together and whatnot, and that may have been true in some cases, but he's really running away from the R after his name. And he's trying to characterize himself as both. He's every man. He says, I ran as a Democrat and a Republican for state's attorney and for state senate. And he did a couple times, I believe, a number of times, because there was nobody that would run against him. But in fact, you know, when you talk to your friends and neighbors, tell them about me, if you can, and get the opportunity. But don't let them buy Vince's line without telling them a little more. Vince supports Mitt Romney. Vince does not support the governor's health care plan. Vince did not support marriage equality, which, by the way, is one of those issues where sometimes you have to, as a legislator, having not been there, it's easier said than done, but some issues rise to the point where you have to say, I know my job's on the line, but this is about civil rights, for goodness sake. I've got to do the right thing. Now, his district is very conservative. I don't know what's in his heart, but he voted against it. I thought that was pretty disappointing. And there are some other issues I've raised in the campaign which the media won't touch. They'd rather talk about the fact that Beth Pierce rents instead of owns a home. It's tragic. It's really tragic to me. When Vince was chair of the Institutions Committee for 6 years, the last 6 years, there were exactly 12 recordings of that committee over 6 years. At the same time, the Finance Committee, I don't know if Ann was the chair then, had 346 as opposed to 12. So transparency is kind of important for the auditor and state government generally. And I'm not sure about Vince's commitment to transparency. So I didn't really come here to bash Vince, but you all, I think, you know, are part of the team already, and I hope that when you talk to your neighbors, if they don't know Vince, there are polite ways to challenge his career. There's other stuff we can talk about. I don't want to do that. But these issues, I think, are important. He wants to be the state auditor, although 4 months ago he wanted to be the Attorney General. He did it. He spent $10,000 on a poll before he decided to run for auditor. When he found that he couldn't win the race for Attorney General, he said, oh, there's an open seat, I'll run for that, which was kind of disappointing. I mean, I ran against an incumbent and helped Pops Vince. In any case, it's a challenging race. He's the beneficiary of about $30,000 or $40,000 of super PAC money from this individual in Burlington. And he didn't ask for it. I'm sure he knew nothing about it. But nevertheless, it never hurts to have $40,000 worth of free TV, among other things. There's print. You know, they also put up some negative Google ads. If you Google my name, a negative ad comes up above the links to my website and Facebook page and stuff. That's pretty unusual in Vermont, I think. Do you recall that? Do you remember either? I thought that was odd. I don't really care. If anybody's Googling my name, that's a good thing. But you know, that stuff, you don't want to hear, you don't see that stuff. So I've spent a long career. I've enjoyed my career. I've been independent and self-employed for 19 years, 5 years before that at City Hall. I like my life. But I think it's true for everybody that works in the public interest that you really want to make a difference. You want to make a contribution as best you can. I think it's fair to say I have made a contribution, and a lot of people in the legislature have helped make things real that I have a hand in. But clearly, if I win this race, I can make a greater contribution. I'm well suited to this job. I actually like the work, believe it or not. And for those who think it's too wonky and just numbers, remember that during Ed Flanagan's tenure, the Government Accounting Standards Board said to state auditors around the country, we really think you need to go to the next level. It's time to start talking about performance auditing. The numbers tell us that the money is where it's supposed to be, it's gone to the appropriate people, compliance, everything's good. However, taxpayers, program managers, and policymakers need to know if in fact the programs created by and paid for with our tax dollars are achieving the goals intended by the legislature. And if not, then we have to tell them so they can make better informed choices about how to use those resources. That's mostly what the auditor's office is doing today. And that's right up my alley, because I've been doing that kind of as a shadow auditor for years. Because this auditor hasn't been doing it. So I love this work. And they have a good staff, but they need to be better managed. I think I can do that. So yes, 3 weeks, like Cass, I'm happy it's almost over. This is not my comfort zone. I don't enjoy this. I like the work, and I hope to work with the staff. I'm not interested in glad handing or going to meetings, except the ones you have to that matter. I want to work with them. I like this work. So in fact, if you vote for me, you get an extra staff person, which is a nice bonus. So, the things that need to be done between now and then are the same for everybody. Lawn signs, letters to the editor, talk to your neighbors. It's pretty straightforward. The money's tough. Down ticket races are a challenge. Last time, I got 105,000 votes, pretty good for a first timer that nobody knew. But there were 10,000 people that voted for Pete Shumlin that didn't vote for auditor at all. They drop off at the bottom of the ticket. It happens every time. It's not unusual. It wasn't just in 2010, and it will happen this time as well. But it's going to be a bigger turnout. Maybe not as exciting as 2008. I don't know. Particularly since the governor's race is not as challenging as it was last time. It's not an open seat. But people have to go all the way to the bottom of the ticket. They have to go. They have to get out and do it. You can't just complacency, as Matt said at the very beginning, is our enemy for sure. So you're all in it. I don't have to worry about you guys.